himself about the importance of analyzing indirect network effects in a two-sided market, he doesn't do that either.
Yo, everyone in stream right now, I'm not trying to be annoying. I'm gonna let it play, and I'm gonna let you guys see what's happening. But if you guys could drop a sub to my channel, I'd really appreciate that so much. If you guys didn't know, I'm actually gonna be donating 3 cents to COVID relief and to people that need help with COVID. I'm gonna be donating 3 cents for every single subscriber I get for the next week. So make sure you do subscribe, help out a lot of people, and just support my channel. But yeah, without further ado, I'm just gonna mute again, let you guys watch this. Spam E for Epic, spam A for Apple.
I see you're at, let's see, how much more do you have? Your slides aren't, and I can't tell how many slides you have left. The numbers aren't chronological. So I'm probably halfway through. Why don't we go ahead then, if you don't mind, and take a break at the, that way we can figure out what's going on with 1-3. And we've been on the record, we'll do my court reporter break. Okay, we'll stand in recess for 20 minutes. Anything else? Do you need anything else, Captain? Yeah. um, um, This laptop is not.
Oh, okay. Thank you for checking.
Yeah, well, I can tell it's not scrolling.
Oh, yeah.
Not very good.
Okay.
Walking around with an extra size set for, that was for me.
Expected it to be this one. Jesse.
Guys, I'm back. I do want to apologize that the audio is so bad right now. I don't know why it sounds like I'm in a literal washing machine. It's not me. I'm literally just listening to Epic's actual thing. So I don't know why it sounds like I'm in a washing machine. But I do apologize for that. Hopefully, Epic and Apple will fix it soon because it does sound really bad. But just stay in the stream. As I said, guys, I'm gonna be gifting a ton of people on Fortnite who like and subscribe. So yeah, guys. If you do want to get a gift in Fortnite, just like and sub. I'm also doing a giveaway for the Rebirth Harley Quinn skin, so make sure to sub if you want to win that. That's ending tomorrow. Let's try to hit 46K. Okay, peace. I'll let you guys watch this now. Hopefully audio's back and better soon. Love you guys.
Okay. Better. Yeah, leading lines are sure is. Lighting lines, Goodman. Okay, we are back on the record. The record will reflect that the parties are present.
Thank you, Your Honor. The chart that's currently on the screen shows us
That's the chart that is currently on the screen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Shows us why Epic, throughout this case, is going to have to twist itself into a pretzel with disfavored theories and bad law to define a relevant market. In the logical market in this case that reflects commercial reality, the market for game transactions, Apple cannot be argued to be a monopolist. Now, Epic also cannot show that Apple's conduct is anti-competitive. In the recent Qualcomm case decided by the Ninth Circuit, before the Ninth Circuit even looked at anti-competitive harm, it looked to see if there was anti-competitive conduct in the first place, applying Supreme Court and Ninth Circuit precedents on duty to deal. So as in Qualcomm, this law forecloses Epic's case. The court is very familiar with the law in this area, and that law is clear that businesses do not have a duty to deal with competitors. And because they do not have a duty to deal in the first place, they do not have a duty to deal on the terms and conditions that those competitors might prefer. That's Trinco and Linkline from the Supreme Court, Qualcomm, Aerotech, and various others from the Ninth Circuit. And the law in this area, which Epic's counsel declined to discuss, is particularly strong in the area of intellectual property. Businesses have no duty to make their products interoperable or to license their IP. And amongst others, this is the foremost pro case in the Ninth Circuit. That case says that the law regards technical incompatibility, for example, the integrated ecosystem, as pro-competitive because it gives consumers a choice, like between the iPhone and the Android devices. In this case, Epic challenges Apple's technical design and contracts because they block, prohibit, and foreclose third-party app stores, apps, and payment systems. They are challenging a refusal to deal. And this slide contains a list of just some of the places in Epic's expert reports where they outright say this. And as in the Qualcomm case, very recently decided this is a non-starter under the law. The relief that Epic seeks absolutely requires forced interoperability and a compelled license. Epic has already admitted in its interrogatory responses in this case that it is virtually impossible to develop an app for iOS without Apple's IP, its API. In other words, third-party apps, app stores, and payment systems can only exist on iOS with Apple's IP. So Apple would be forced to license its IP, even to untested and untrusted apps and app stores, and to make its products interoperable with every app and app update. And I suspect you will not hear the Epic witnesses deny this, because they know what IP is required, and they know what it takes, including on the engineering front, to make sure that the products are interoperable and that those products will work on the iOS platform. This is a case about software. Now, when we look at Epic's actual proposed injunction language, it jumps right off the page at you. And so we didn't list it out all on the slide because there's too much of it. But it is very clear when you look at the language that they are demanding in the form of an injunction, when it comes to side-loaded apps, third-party app stores, and third-party payments, they are seeking a requirement to deal, a requirement to license, and forced interoperability. We have one example on this slide where it's just undeniable. Epic is asking the court to prohibit Apple from impeding third-party app stores' payment system through technical means and contractual means. That means we would need to make our products technically interoperable, and we would be forced to enter into contracts to license our IP. The law just does not require that, and it does not permit it. And it is square and has been held so many times by both the Supreme Court and the Ninth Circuit. In the Qualcomm case, after making its findings on duty to deal, the court did turn to anti-competitive harm. And in this case as well, Epic cannot show anti-competitive effects. The law just does not require that, and it does. Case is just astounding. Business opportunities have been created for millions of developers and spurred the creation of an entirely new industry related to app development and design. This is the hallmark of competition and what antitrust cases look at. Not only have app downloads increased exponentially, the number of users has dramatically increased. This is a chart that shows developer revenue. Developer revenue has gone dramatically up. And as output has increased, Apple's effective commissions have decreased. Effective commissions for game apps was 8.1% in fiscal year 2019, and for all apps, it was 4.7%. More developers are offering apps for free. Today, that number is 84%. Epic ignores all free apps. And developers are increasingly taking advantage of monetization options that do not involve commission to Apple, which Apple has made easier to do, like signing up for subscriptions on other platforms that then you can use on iOS. As Tim Cook said recently, prices have only gone in one direction, and that's down. Apple has reduced commissions for subscriptions, for premium video entertainment, and earlier this year for small businesses, which are businesses making less than $1 million a year. In an antitrust case, no price increase ever is a big deal. And Epic likes to dismiss the small business program, but even if it doesn't matter to Epic, it does matter to a lot of small businesses. Google thought this was such a good idea that they followed us, another sign of competition. Now, I saw council put up on the screen a chart supposedly about the App Store's margins. And they're going to pull documents out of context in this case, and this is incredibly misleading. Epic's expert, Mr. Barnes, the accountant, looks only at one segment of the iOS ecosystem. But as our witnesses will explain, Apple's business is integrated. And so Apple doesn't internally allocate to the App Store most of the costs in running the store. And let me make that very concrete. Apple software teams, for example, do an enormous amount of engineering work that supports the App Store, like creating those SDKs and those APIs that we talked about, that Epic says you couldn't even make an app without that. So without those SDKs and APIs, there wouldn't be any apps in the App Store. But none of those costs are formally allocated to the store. And instead, reflecting its integrated business model, Apple calculates its profits company-wide. So the evidence is going to show tremendous output and reduced prices and consumer choice, no anti-competitive effect. And in fact, what's on the screen right now is what Epic's economist, Dr. Evans, said in 2011, a year after Epic now contends our conduct became anti-competitive. He said, iPhone users have done very well, also as a result of the tens of thousands of applications they can choose from, some of which enable them to do things that were not possible before. New markets have opened for entrepreneurs. By bringing developers and users together, the iPhone has served as a catalyst, which has created value and profit out of thin air. That's quite an endorsement. In fact, it wasn't just David Evans' opinion in 2011, it was his view last year. Last year, he said, there isn't much controversy that Apple's rules have enabled it to create a high-quality app ecosystem for the iPhone. So this time, he attributes Apple's high-quality app ecosystem to the very rules Epic is asking the court to get rid of. This is the person, Your Honor, that Epic's entire antitrust case relies upon. And we are going to cross-examine him. The evidence is also going to show that Apple has a host of pro-competitive justifications for the design choices that Epic is asking this court to get rid of. Now, these are Apple's pro-competitive justifications: consumer trust, security and privacy, reliability, quality, user experience, consumer choice, and protecting our intellectual property. Now, these may sound familiar because they are the principles that form the foundation of Apple's brand. They are the North Star and the reason that many consumers, including apparently Tim Sweeney, prefer the iPhone. To win this case, Epic would have to convince this court that every one of these pro-competitive justifications is all just a big pretext. Epic really only speaks about security, so we'll address that one. Epic's argument here is basically, why can't you just protect the iPhone like you protect the Mac? Well, Phil Schiller is going to tell you, he was there from the beginning, that even then Apple knew the iPhone was going to be very different than a PC or a Mac. To begin with, it was a phone. It had to work all the time, like when you're in a medical emergency or you're stuck at the side of the road. So reliability was priority one. And priority two was security. The iPhone keeps our most personal data, our health data, our location, our kids' location. Priority one and priority two, reliability and security. And Apple was not going to sacrifice either one of those. An Epic's question, why not apply the same security from the Mac to the iPhone, shows how truly dangerous their position in this case really is. iOS devices face an extraordinary threat model. There are over 1 billion portable iOS devices with over 1.8 million apps available for download. Each device has a camera and a microphone and a GPS that are always present. This threat model is what makes iOS different from macOS. The iPhone is not a Mac. It is a rare moment when somebody leaves a Mac on a bus or in a movie theater. Your Mac doesn't always know where you are or where your children are. More devices to attack, more opportunities to attack, more incentive to attack. Take away the security, particularly to the iPhone, and the bad actors are going to have a field day, which is why Android security statistics are so much worse. Now, the way to combat the threat level to iOS devices is to have multiple layers of security. And as you heard, the iOS itself is one critical layer of security. And Apple's App Review is another. Phil Schiller and Tristan Kosminka, the head of App Review, will take this court deep inside the App Review process, which utilizes highly sophisticated AI and machine review in addition to human review. App Review makes sure that the apps perform as expected, that they won't damage your device, that they don't contain any objectionable content or malware, and that these apps are not pirated or copycatted, which is something that Epic really appreciated when App Review stopped a copycat app called Fortcraft. So it is the human review that really sets App Review apart. You need people, not machines, to figure out if the app is pirated, if it contains hate speech, difficult judgment, or pornography, if it is too violent or offensive for kids, or whether the app doesn't need access to parts of your phone. And when human reviewers spot new threats, they can get in and change the code used in the electronic review. And so these problems can be caught in the future. And so in this way, app review is learning and getting better all the time. Now, app review doesn't just protect security, it protects reliability and functionality of the phone, priority 1 and priority 2. It protects against bugs and malware and apps that drain your battery, things that consumers do not want. Now, when our expert, Dr. Rubenfeld, pointed out that rogue apps can hurt consumers and damage the Apple brand, Dr. Evans had this to say. He says, Dr. Rubenfeld simply asserts that there is a rogue developer who lacks incentives to protect users and developers from harm. Well, yes, rogue developers are not rational economic actors. They do lack those incentives to protect consumers and developers from harm. In security, you are only as strong as your weakest link. Bad actors only need to find one app store with weaker security in order to infiltrate the entire iOS system. Now, a substantial portion of Epic's presentation focused on some individual examples of some things that got through in the course of nearly 15 years. Each of those examples is an example of why app review is needed. Epic's response to phishing scams is to ask a court to order us to remove an extra layer of security. So we freely acknowledge app review is not perfect. Those individual and cherry-picked examples should be measured against these overall numbers. There are more than 1.8 million apps in the App Store. 100% of all apps are automatically screened for known malware. 100,000 are reviewed each week by 500 expert reviewers, and Apple rejects a full 40% of apps due to glitches, bugs, or because they compromise user privacy or security. And it sounded like Epic thought that was a bad thing, but consumers think it's a good thing because it makes the product better. Epic also showed you some negative quotes from surveys that Apple does of its developers. Now, those same documents contain quotes that Epic doesn't want to show you. Developers who say, I gave the App Store a high rating. I love the new design of the App Store. As a consumer, the App Store has become a really great destination. The developer process is great. Keep up the great work that led to 24-hour and less review time. Overall, it's been a great experience. Those are all from separate developers, and there are many more that I could read this quote. So the point of this is not that there are some strongly positive or strongly negative comments among thousands of developers who have been surveyed. Of course there are. The point is that Apple collects this feedback from developers, escalates all the way up the top of the chain, the top of the company, to the executives so that they can make the business decisions that will make the product better. And the proof is in the pudding. Epic is effectively saying to Apple in this case, why can't you just allow spy loading like Android does? They are asking us to remove a competitive advantage. Epic wants us to be Android, but we don't want to be. And our consumers don't want that either. They want the choice. Look at this sentence from Epic's conclusions of law. They say, at most, App Review provides an additional layer of security by filtering out obviously malicious or otherwise dangerous apps. Even if this one sentence that Epic grudgingly concedes is true, this alone would show that the reason for what Apple is doing is real and not a pretext. And while Epic says at most people would think filtering out malicious and dangerous apps is pretty important. So finally, Your Honor, moving on to Epic's tying claim. Under the law, a tie only exists where buyers are required to take a product. There are two problems with this. One is that IAP is not a product, and the second is that it's not required. As the court has already said in the PI order, the IAP system appears to be integrated with the App Store and historically to have never been a separate product. So the evidence will show that that is right. IAP has never been offered, marketed, or sold separately by Apple. It's not a separate product. And this makes sense because IAP is not a product at all. It is not, for example, a payment processor, as Epic likes to insist, Apple actually outsources payment processing to a third party, which in the United States is Chase Bank. So IAP is a complex functionality that performs various steps, including account checks, pre-sale checks, and fraud checks, to make sure that when a consumer and a developer engage in a digital transaction through the App Store, that transaction is as seamless and legitimate as possible. That transaction takes place on the device. IAP is also the most efficient way for Apple to collect its commission. As the Apple executives will explain, there are many ways to build a business. And IAP was the one that they chose to monetize the App Store because it best reflected the relationship that Apple wanted to have with consumers and developers. And it worked. For consumers, it reduces friction so that consumers don't have to enter their financial information all over the place. It means that Apple doesn't make money unless its developers make money, which aligns incentives. And it means that many apps in the App Store can be free, which helps attract more consumers to the store, which boosts revenue for all developers. Apple was not the first to do this, and it wasn't the last. There are many companies that do something similar. So not only is IAP not a product, it's also not required. It is the developer's choice how they want to monetize their app, and plenty do not choose in-app purchase. They can choose paid advertising or other promotions, and Epic knows this because it monetizes Fortnite in some of these other ways as well. The truth, Your Honor, is that Epic's time claim is really just an attack on Apple's 30% commission that Epic does not want to pay. And if that weren't already obvious, the Project Liberty documents say this in black and white. But while IAP functionality may be the most efficient way to collect the commission, it is not the commission itself. In a world without IAP, Apple would still be entitled to collect a commission, and developers would have to pay extra for the payment processing costs that Apple now covers. Costs would go up. Those costs could be passed down to consumers, who would also confront more friction when making transactions, which in turn would be bad also for developers. So that is not a world where consumers or developers would be better off. And it's not just with IAP, but in general, Epic's requested release will harm consumers and developers. And this point can perhaps be best made by asking ourselves the question, what would have happened if Epic had been granted the release they seek today, way back in 2010, when Epic now says that Apple's conduct is an antitrust violation because of its own enforcement of its own guidelines in the phone store? You know what did happen, reflected on this chart, based on the trust that Apple has been able to build with its consumers. But what if none of this had ever happened? Or this? Or this? And what about the next 10 years? What will Apple's commitment to maintaining the security, safety, and privacy of the App Store, to maintaining the trust it has built with consumers, what will that bring over the next 10 years? Well, Epic's requested release will make sure that none of us ever finds out. And here's another problem. If Epic prevails, other ecosystems will fall too. As the court noted in her PI order, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft all operate similar platform models to Apple. The court wanted to assess whether there would be serious ramifications for those businesses as well. So the evidence will show that there would be. We asked Mr. Sweeney if he thought that console manufacturers were monopolists in their own products, and he said yes. And it's true. If Epic can prevail on its theory, there will be nothing to distinguish any of these transaction platforms. They all charge the same commission. They nearly all prohibit sideloading or third-party app stores or both, and they all facilitate in-app purchases. Mr. Sweeney's personal preference that all platforms be open is directly contrary to what the antitrust laws say is pro-competitive. And the law protects Apple's choice to have an integrated system, just like it protects Sony and Nintendo. And so at the end of the day, Your Honor, to win this case, Epic is going to have to convince this court of so many things that don't make any sense. That the same games being played by the same people at the same time should not be grouped together. That a business model praised just last year by Epic's lead economist should be invalidated based on the testimony from that same economist. And that Apple's brand-defining commitment to safety, security, reliability, and quality are all just a big pretext. But the most dangerous thing that Epic is going to try to sell the court is the idea that consumers would be better off if Epic had its way. Nothing could be further from the truth. Epic speculates about a world where Apple was a different company and is asking this court to make a big bet that that world is a better world than the one we live in. It isn't. The results for consumers and developers will be less security, less privacy, less reliability, lower quality, and less choice. And those are the very things that the antitrust laws seek to protect. Your Honor, we look forward to presenting our case to you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gunn. Ms. Forrest, your first witness. Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Forrest, just give me a moment. Go on. Ms. Forrest, your first witness.
Epic calls Mr. Timothy Sweeney.
Yeah, that's his name.
You solemnly swear the testimony about the give to John Child from the that's the truth and what about.
I do.
Please state your full name.
Hold on.
I know you're
Your mic's not on.
okay.
Now let's try. I heard you, but we need to get the mic on.
Sorry, I'm Timothy Dean Sweeney, S-W-E-E-N-E-Y.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
All right, good morning, Mr. Sweeney. Where do you live, sir?
I live in Perry, North Carolina.
And where do you live, sir?
I live in Perry, North Carolina.
Thank you. And by whom are you employed?
I work with Epic Games Incorporated.
And what is your position with Epic?
I'm the CEO and founder of the company.
And did you have anything to do with the decision by Epic to sue Apple in the case that has brought us here to trial today?
Yes, the CEO of Epic, it was my decision.
And without giving me any legal advice that you may have received, can you tell me what led Epic to sue Apple?
Certainly, Epic had been working on the iOS FS system since around 2010, so we loved it in the early days. Over the following decade, it became increasingly apparent that Apple's control of the FS system was increasing prices and restraining developers from realizing their creative vision. And this led to a series of conversations that Epic attempted to have with Apple executives a number of times, starting in 2015 and going onward. None of it's ever really connected with Apple. They're never willing to have high-level discussions with us. And so in June of 2020, I believe, I sent a letter to Tim Cook stating Epic's immediate concerns and the kind of several requests of Apple, which I received a reply about in July, refusing all of them, and that led to my decision to launch Project Liberty and to confront Apple publicly.
And were there any particular Apple policies with which Epic disagreed at that time?
Yes, the two that really stand out are Apple's.
So I'm going to interrupt only when I don't have a clear understanding of something in the question. And this will be consistent throughout the trial. So are you asking him for his view as of the 2020 letter to Apple, or when Project Liberty started, which I understand to be substantially before that?
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Let me perhaps reword the question. Mr. Sweeney, at the time that Epic sued Apple, were there specific policies with which you disagreed?
Yes, the two major disagreements were over Apple's policy prohibiting all competing stores from existing on iOS, and Apple's policy requiring that all payment for digital goods in iOS apps use in-app purchase and pay to Apple a 30% commission.
All right. Now, let's back up a little bit. When did you first have your earliest experience working with an Apple device?
Around 1983, I was 12 years old, and my brother had given my family an Apple II Plus computer, which I learned to program on. That was my first experience with Apple.
When did you found the Epic company?
I started Epic Games in 1991.
And when did you first have any app that you released through the Apple App Store?
Epic Games in 2010 when the iPhone 3GS had come out. When the iPhone 3GS came out with the first amazing 3D capabilities in a mobile device, Epic began making our Unreal Engine technology work on iPhone devices. We initially released a technology demo called Epic Citadel, followed by our first iOS game release called Infinity Blade, I believe in 2010.
So you said Epic Citadel and the next one?
It was called Infinity Blade.
Infinity Plague.
Yes.
Thank you.
CLADE?
Yes.
And between 2010 and 2020, did you perceive there to be any changes in Apple policies?
Yes, that period. I'd initially been a fan of the iPhone model, but over time the policies became more and more restrictive. Apple continually ratcheted up the restrictions on developers both through the policy statements and the enforcement of them. At one point, I think one of the things that made the biggest impression on me was when Apple introduced search ads, so that when a user searching for Fortnite saw an ad for a third-party game come up above the listings for Fortnite. That's a very severe frustration with Apple to search.
And if there were issues with Apple policies in 2010, or were there any issues with Apple policies in 2010?
So Epic didn't initially take a critical view of Apple policies at that point in time.
Why did Epic wait until 2020 to sue Apple?
It took me a very long time to come to a realization of all of the negative impacts of Apple's policies. And in particular, as in the very early days of iPhone games were built by a team of just a few people, and to reach a large audience, and it was very lucrative for developers. But over that period, game and app competition grew dramatically as the number of apps increased. There were many products being built by teams of 100 or more engineers or developers. The economic model had changed such that the average developer's profit margin, in my experience, was well under 30%. And so we got to a point where Apple was making more profit from selling a developer's app on the App Store than the developer typically was making themselves.
And Mr. Sweeney, we'll just be asking sort of about your particular experience with regards to Epic. And let me just move on to the next question. In your view, has Epic been harmed by Apple's policies as they existed at the time this lawsuit was filed in August 2020?
Yes.
And can you please explain to the court how Epic has been harmed?
There are a number of areas. First of all, Apple is required use of in-app purchase reduces the quality of the support that we can provide to customers. Epic doesn't have the ability to issue refunds to customers, and so if a customer has a problem, we can't service them directly and have to refer them directly to Apple, to talk to Apple instead. Apple is in position as this 30% commission. Is a really significant economic drag on the economics of products, which certainly impacted Epic's pricing decisions, and has led to the ability to reinvest less in our business than we otherwise would been able to if the commission weren't present. And Apple's also imposed a myriad of policies on individual features of our products, which has restricted them from achieving the sort of vision that we originally had for them, and in some cases prevented us from doing things which we did on other platforms with great success that were loved by customers. Yeah, so Apple's policies had, in many ways, prevented us from implementing the sorts of features that we wanted in Fortnite that we had been able to implement on other platforms.
Epic seeking damages in this lawsuit?
No, Epic is solely seeking changes to Apple's future behavior.
Have you ever heard of the term special deal?
Yes.
Is Epic seeking a special deal from Apple in connection with the filing of this lawsuit?
No, the remedies Epic is seeking here are changes to Apple's behavior that would affect the entire market and all participants in it.
Is there any portion of the remedy that Epic is seeking that is asking for app review to go away?
No, with respect to apps distributed through the iOS App Store, I'm a supporter of Apple's freedom to review apps.
And is there any portion of the remedy that Epic is seeking that is seeking to have Apple's in-app purchase functionality go away?
No, I support Apple's right to offer a purchasing system to developers when they use with consumers. Epic is simply seeking the ability for other payment systems to compete with them on iOS so that developers can choose freely among them.
And we're going to turn for a moment to Epic's business. Can you describe to the court, as of today, what is Epic's business?
There's a variety of businesses that all tied to the common theme of building and supporting real-time 3D content, both to consumer products and to developers and to other services that socially connect users together. The three major areas of our business are consumer products such as Fortnite, Rocket League, and House Party. Products aimed directly at developers, which enable them to develop their own apps or games, such as Unreal Engine and Epic Online Services. And we also operate a digital store that connects developers of PC and Mac games to consumers on the PC and Mac platforms, like the Epic Game Store.
Right, and we'll come back to some of these in a moment. But can you describe generally who some of Epic's competitors are in the various lines of business?
Yeah, certainly. In the area of consumer apps, Our comparators range from other social ecosystem companies such as Facebook or Roblox, to other game developers such as Activision, and that kind of stuff. In our business targeting developer tools, our Unreal Engine business, Epic Online Services business, competitors include Unity, a maker of another 3D engine, and Microsoft and Amazon to build similar online service SDKs. And with respect to the Epic Games Store, in the PC and Mac market, our competitors include stores that publish games from many publishers, stores that distribute games from many publishers, such as Steam and Good Old Games, to proprietary stores run by publishers themselves, such as Electronic Arts' Origin service, and Activision's Blizzard service.
Is Apple a competitor of Epic's in any way?
Apple is a competitor of Epic on a number of businesses and various things.
And can you describe some of those, please?
Certainly, Apple has an expanded role in publishing and distributing iOS to Apple.
Sorry, the publishing industry?
Sorry, Apple operates Apple Arcade, a subscription game service, which to some extent competes with Epic's products. Apple provides SDKs of various sorts, such as Sign-In with Apple, which to some extent competes with Epic's account system.
All right. And in terms of the distribution of apps, is there any competition between Epic and Apple?
There's not, because Apple bars us from operating a store, a digital app store that could operate on the iOS platform.
Now,
I'm sorry, correct. However, Apple also operates the Mac App Store, and the Epic Games Store is to some extent in competition with the App Store, and that we both sell products to the same base of users.
You mentioned earlier in one of your answers the word publisher. What is the
And the Epic Games Store is to some extent in competition with the App Store, and that we both sell products to the same base of users.
you mentioned earlier in one of your answers the word publisher. What is the
Such as Fortnite,
Have any of the concerts involved non-cartoon characters performing?
Yes, many of our concerts in Fortnite Party Island have taken place in a huge video stream in which the musicians themselves as humans appeared through the video stream while Fortnite players participated as virtual 3D avatars.
And is there any competitive gameplay that occurs when these concerts are occurring?
No, the concert viewing experience is purely a social music listening experience and doesn't involve winning or losing.
You've also mentioned that there were some movies that were hosted within Fortnite. Can you describe what some of those movies were?
Yes, we hosted 3 Christopher Nolan films.
You hosted a pre-what?
Three Christopher Nolan
films.
Mr. String, let's going to do a test. I'm hearing that the media on the phone line is having a difficult time hearing you. So you may be too close to the mic, so let's just do a test. Ask him a simple question, Ms. Forrest.
Mr. Sweeney, whose films were being hosted?
Christopher Nolan films.
All right, and how many of those films were hosted within Fortnite?
3 films.
Let's keep it at this for a while and let you know if I'll interrupt again if I get more feedback.
All right, we'll try to be sort of shorter and we'll be able to articulate more to make sure that we're able to capture the sound appropriately. And was there any competitive gameplay that was associated with those films?
No.
Were those films only portions of films, or were they an entire film?
These were full feature-length films.
Is there any other filmed entertainment that has been hosted within Fortnite?
Yes, we also hosted an event called Short Night, in which we hosted several short films, 3 to 5 minute segments created by indie filmmakers.
And when did these films, when were they hosted within Fortnite? Over what period of time, generally speaking?
These occurred over the last year and a half.
And in terms of the concerts, generally speaking, over what period of time did those concerts occur?
Over a period of, I believe, at least 2 years.
And has Fortnite hosted any television shows?
Yes, we've hosted at least 2.
Can you recall the names of the 2?
At least 2.
Can you recall the names of the 2 television shows that Fortnite hosted?
Yes, one was ESPN's The Ocho.
ESPN's
The Ocho.
OCHO?
Yes.
And can you recall the name of the other one?
I believe it was Discovery Channel's Tiger Shark King.
Okay, and do you recall approximately when those occurred?
Over the past 18 months, I believe.
Have there been any forms of community conversation within Fortnite?
Yes. We hosted an event called We the People. We presented a pre-filmed dialogue on racial equality and voter suppression in the United States in Fortnite Party Island. Participants could stand around in social groups so they could talk to each other through voice chat while listening to the presentation.
Was there any competitive gameplay in connection with the We the People community conversation?
No.
Was there any competitive gameplay in connection with the television shows that Fortnite hosted?
No.
Are there any other noteworthy events that have occurred within Fortnite that did not involve Strike? Were there any other noteworthy events that have occurred within Fortnite?
Yes. Fortnite evolved through a series of seasons, and several seasons have ended in major cinematic events. One was a cinematic event in the Marvel universe, and the other was a cinematic event in which the world of Fortnite was swallowed by a black hole. And players were left for a few days to wonder what would happen next, right before Fortnite Chapter 2 launched.
Right. Are you familiar with the term updates?
Yes.
Is Fortnite updated from time to time?
Yes, we generally make a major update to Fortnite every 2 weeks.
What does that mean? What does it mean to update Fortnite?
Well, the world of Fortnite is constantly evolving. There are new places appearing in the world, and new forms of gameplay and fellow behavior constantly coming in over time. And these updates are critical for Epic to deliver all this new functionality to Fortnite participants.
Are you familiar with the term crossplay?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Crossplay refers to the ability of one player on one device to participate in a shared session in the Fortnite world together with other people on other platforms, such as the ability for iOS players to play in Fortnite in the same world as a PlayStation player.
And does Fortnite, has it supported crossplay over time?
Yes.
And what did it play any role? Did Epic play any role in the adoption of crossplay?
Yes, when Fortnite was released in 2017, all of the console platforms had restrictions. Console platforms had restrictions on crossplay, and Epic went through a series of negotiations with Microsoft and with Sony over the period of 2018, which resulted in both Microsoft and Sony opening up to enable crossplay between their consoles and between every other platform, with the effect that every Fortnite player on all 7 different platforms was able to play together in that time frame.
Are there any benefits to crossplay?
In a social game like Fortnite, players typically play together with other friends, a duo or a squad. We're often playing socially or with voice chat. And so the magic of Fortnite is the ability to play together with people you know in the real world and to have a shared social experience, even if you're in different places and on different devices. And this sort of social app only works well for players if they can connect to all of their friends who want to play the game. If players are segregated by their device, so that Xbox players could only play with Xbox players and so on, then it would break up real-world social groups and impede people's ability to play together with their colleagues.
Does Fortnite support cross-progression?
Yes.
What does cross-progression mean?
Cross-progression refers to the ability of users who own multiple devices to connect to Fortnite on these different platforms and to have the same progression or a state or ownership of virtual items on all different platforms. Meaning that if you go into Fortnite on iOS, for a time the Fortnite outfits you owned on iOS and the Fortnite record of progress you had will be carried over if you left iOS and went over to Xbox, or if you left Xbox and came back to iOS. So throughout the day, you could go between these different devices in Fortnite without ever losing your place.
Does Epic charge for access to Fortnite?
No, Fortnite is free. Users on all platforms can download the game and play without paying any money.
How does Epic monetize Fortnite if it does?
Sells cosmetics within the game, which players can optionally purchase to enhance their appearance in the world of Fortnite.
Can you define what the word cosmetic means in connection with the world of Fortnite?
Cosmetic item is an item that changes your avatar's appearance in the world. Such as an outfit, you can either appear in Fortnite as a Marvel superhero or a giant banana. Fortnite cosmetics also include emotes, such as dances or gestures that you can make on your animated character in the world, and other, say, fashion accessories.
You've mentioned the word avatar. What does the word avatar mean?
Avatar refers to the 3D character who is representing you in the real-time three-dimensional world of Fortnite.
Now, have you heard of the phrase in-app purchase?
Yes.
What does that mean?
In-app purchase refers to the capability of a user to spend money within an app without having to leave the app and go to another place in order to get typically a benefit of some sort within the app.
And some of the items that you've mentioned, for instance, cosmetics, does Epic offer cosmetics as in-app purchases?
Yes, Epic sells many outfits through in-app purchase.
Is there any reason why Epic decided to or chose to offer in-app purchases?
We wanted to make our game as widely accessible as possible so that economics wouldn't limit somebody's access to Fortnite. And to build a business around that, we offered the optional ability for participants to purchase these outfits, which improved their appearance in an entirely optional and non-mandatory way.
Do any of the in-app purchases that are offered to users impact gameplay?
No, one of the key principles of Fortnite Battle Royale is that you can never gain an advantage over another human by purchasing any sort of item in the game. All players participate on a level playing field, and the money they spend only determines how they appear or what dances they can do, and not how fast they can run. You can't spend money to go faster, to jump higher, to shoot more accurately, for example.
All right. And have you heard of the phrase out-of-app purchases?
Yes.
Can you compare in-app purchases to out-of-app purchases insofar as your experience with them relates to Fortnite?
In-app purchases are far more convenient than out-of-app purchases. Our user is in Fortnite, and they see our user is in Fortnite, and they see an interesting cosmetic item available. In-app purchase makes it possible for them to buy it immediately with just a few taps on their screen, whereas out-of-app purchase would require a player to leave Fortnite, perhaps open a web browser, navigate to a web page, and separately make a purchase there. Perhaps have to log in separately as well. So out-of-app purchase has far more friction than in-app purchase.
You spoke a few moments ago about Fortnite usage in 2020. Was this lawsuit in any way related to any trends in Fortnite usage in 2020?
No, the lawsuit is entirely about Apple's practices.
Was there a time when Fortnite was available through Apple's App Store?
Yes.
When was Fortnite first made available in the App Store?
We developed a beta version of Fortnite, I believe, in March of 2018. Soon updated it to a full release in, I believe, April 2018.
Why did Epic launch Fortnite on iOS?
After we launched Fortnite on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, we very quickly realized that Fortnite was transcending gaming. People were often playing with their friends in a social way that was atypical for traditional games. And we also found many people were bringing their friends in to play Fortnite, even if their friends were not traditional gamers. And we realized it would be incredibly valuable to open up Fortnite to a much wider audience than the PC or console audience that we had so far reached. Smartphones, both iOS and Android, reach a far larger audience than consoles. And so we really wanted to enable Fortnite players to be able to play with all of their friends across all devices they might own. Does
iOS have any importance to Epic?
Yes, iOS is a vital platform for our business.
And does iOS have any importance for the future of Epic's business?
Yes.
Can you describe that?
Well, our aim with Fortnite is to build something like the metaverse from science fiction. So far we've reached around 400 million participants. And we've largely saturated the available audience as console gamers and PC gamers. Whereas there's a far larger audience of smartphone users, reaching the entire base of Apple's 1 billion iPhone consumers is a paramount goal for our company as Fortnite expands beyond being a game into the larger world of the metaverse.
Let's circle now back to some background about Epic. How did Epic Games come into existence? Can you describe its origin story?
I started the company in 1991, initially called Potomac Computer Systems, after my hometown. And then at that time I released my first game. And then in 1992, I released my second game called Joe of the Jungle, and upgraded the company's name to Epic Mega Games.
And where is Epic's principal place of business?
Epic is now located in Cary, North Carolina.
Where is Epic incorporated?
Epic is still incorporated in Maryland.
Does Epic have offices other than in Cary, North Carolina?
Yes, Epic has offices all around the United States and around the world.
Can you describe some of the places around the world where Epic has offices?
Certainly, we're in Canada, we're in France, Germany, Sweden, Finland. We have an Asian presence in Korea, Japan, and China.
How many people approximately does Epic employ today?
Epic employs just over 3,200 people now.
In 2020, what were Epic's approximate annual revenues?
Epic made approximately $5.1 billion in gross revenue in 2020.
And what did Epic do, or what does Epic do with the revenues it earns?
Epic very heavily reinvests in the future
types of apps that Epic planned to include in the store when it was first launched?
Our aspiration was to become a general distribution vehicle for any type of software. We were initially thinking about distributing tools from third-party developers because we had a large audience for the Unreal Engine tool. Our intent was to be a broad-based distribution vehicle for any kind of software for the devices we supported.
And today, does the Epic Game Store distribute games?
Yes.
And today, does the Epic Game Store distribute any non-games?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the app Spotify?
Yes.
What is the app Spotify?
I take it you're making a distinction between today and when the lawsuit was filed, right?
Let me clean that up, Your Honor. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Sweeney, in August of 2020, did the Epic Game Store host any non-game apps?
Yes. Since its inception, the Epic Game Store has hosted the Unreal Engine.
Anything beyond that?
No, not until 4 months ago.
When did Spotify first go on to the Epic Game Store?
Sorry, I don't remember the date. I believe it was 3 or 4 months ago. I apologize.
All right. And are there any other non-game apps currently distributed through the Epic Game Store?
Yes, there are several.
Can you name them and the type of app they are for the court?
Certainly, there's the Brave web browser. There's CamShape, a creation tool for artists. There's itch.io, third-party store hosted by our store.
Okay. Does the Epic Game Store charge developers a commission for the apps that it distributes?
There's a commission only when developers use our payment method, which we provide as an option.
If a developer does not use the payment method that EGS provides, does Epic charge a commission in any other way?
So Epic charges no commissions when developers use their own payment method for in-app purchases. Also note that only to distribute a paid game in the Epic Game Store currently is with the initial paid transaction occurring using Epic's payment method.
All right, so there are 2 different types of commissions, is that right, through the Epic Game Store?
There is a commission on the initial sales of an app if it's not free, which is mandatory, and then there is a commission on in-app purchases, which is only charged when the developer uses our payment processing method.
How did Epic, what is the commission rate that's charged by the Epic Game Store for the initial purchase of an app?
It's 12% gross revenue.
And how much is the commission rate for that Epic charges for an in-app purchase?
It's 12% when our payment processing is due.
All right. And what does the 12% cover?
12% is intended to cover all of Epic's variable operating costs, the cost of processing an additional transaction.
And does Epic make a profit with its 12% commission? And let's focus on in-app purchases.
Epic makes a gross profit on the variable cost associated with a new purchase, meaning we make more money from the 12% that typically costs us to cover the cost of that additional purchase. But that does not account for all of the source costs, such as marketing and exclusive products.
Is the Epic Game Store currently profitable?
No, when you consider all of the costs of the Epic Game Store, it's hundreds of millions of dollars short of being profitable because of the upfront investments we made in the store.
And is that true also in August of 2020? Was the Epic Game Store profitable at that time?
It was not profitable then.
Is there any projection that you have as to when the Epic Game Store will achieve profitability?
We don't have detailed financial projections for the long term, but we have a general expectation of becoming profitable within 3 or 4 years currently.
Is the Epic Game Store currently available on iOS?
No.
Why not?
Apple does not allow third parties to distribute stores for iOS.
You mentioned a moment ago that Epic has a payment processing system. Is there a name for that?
You are nowadays calling it Epic Direct Payment.
All right. Where is Epic Direct Payment used?
It's used as the default payment method in the Epic Game Store for Windows and Mac, and it is the payment service that we introduced when we launched Fortnite on iOS.
All right. And
when we launched Fortnite's direct payment service on iOS.
And for third-party developers whose apps are distributed through the Epic Game Store, do they have to use the Epic Direct Payment System?
No, they are not required to.
Prior to August 2020, had the Epic Direct Payment System processed any transactions on any platform?
Yes.
Prior to August of 2020, approximately what was the volume of transactions that the Epic Direct Payment System had processed?
Between the Fortnite open platforms and the Epic Game Store, we had processed over $1 billion of financial transactions.
And are you aware of any security issues introduced onto any devices as a result of the use of the Epic Direct Payment System?
No.
Does Epic have any plans for Epic Direct Payment on iOS?
So Epic introduced the Epic Direct Payment into Fortnite on iOS, and it's a general service that we would like to be able to make available to other developers in the future if we were allowed to.
Are there any benefits that Epic believes it derives from the use of the Epic Direct Payment System?
Yes.
And can you describe this for us?
When a customer contacts us for support, if we process that customer's payment directly, we have far more knowledge about the details of the payment and far more control over issuing refunds or partial refunds or investigating anything that went wrong. Because we have a direct access to our payment service, whereas Apple's in-app purchase system, we have no way to help a customer who needs a refund. We simply have to tell them to go talk to Apple.
Now, let's turn to where Epic does business. Where does Epic do business geographically?
We do business in most of the world.
Let's take some of the business lines one by one. Where geographically is the Epic Game Store available?
It's available for download from any place that you can access our website, and customers are allowed to create accounts for it in any territory that isn't subject to U.S. export restrictions.
And where are the apps that Epic develops available geographically?
Where the Epic Game Store is available.
And is that true with regard to Fortnite?
Yes, with the exception of China, which we are not operating a version of Fortnite that is publicly available.
Okay. And we've talked about the Unreal Engine. Where is the Unreal Engine available geographically?
The Unreal Engine is available everywhere in the world that isn't subject to certain U.S. export restrictions.
And how about the SDK that is referred to as the EOS, the Epic Online Services? Where is that available geographically?
It is the same. It's the same.
And how about Epic Direct Payment? Where does Epic Direct Payment process transactions geographically?
We process transactions either directly or through payment processing partners in at least 100 different countries.
All right, let's turn to a different topic. Do you own
We're gonna, I want to take a break here in 3 minutes, so is now a good time?
Now would be a good time, Your Honor?
Okay. And we will stand in recess until, 1:15. All right.
No, it smells like smoke to me. I don't know, something's coming in through the HVAC.
Smells like something.
It smells like cigarette smoke to me. But it just started up a few minutes ago. So I don't know if people are going back out on that same balcony and
It's very odd,
yeah,
All right, we're gonna,
okay. So I'm assuming that you saw those messages about Buzz wanting to meet later today?
yeah, I sent him a message and asked if he can just wait till the end of our day. Because it's, I don't think it's helpful to try to do anything in the, while we're right in the middle of day one. So. But will it be on the 2020 August?
Yes, according to the pilot, it was architectural rendering and full.
Yeah, so I guess it's not as much as you do something.
It really does. It started about 10 minutes ago.
Is it flawed?
Yeah, I think if this has happened in the past and people would go up on the roof and take smoke breaks, and then it gets sucked in through the HVAC system. But I didn't think anybody was allowed to go out there any longer. I don't know if somebody's just thinking they're sneaking out, if they're like, GSA or something.
Yeah, and they're really going hard into making Fortnite not just about games, social experience, the piece of Facebook.
It's all fluff.
It is all fun, but I can see the point. I mean, I guess it's a conceptual category of games that people believe is different from these other things. And there's no strong reason for that. Okay, so. I would be up for a walk. A walk sounds very good. Yeah, one coffee. Coffee.
No, thank you.
I was also part of the group to go down. I'm not. Sure. I think we did it. I haven't asked. So I always, I can get a nice job on the sand one. I thought he did a nice job, not on the sand. I'm surprised that, you know, if you're stored, you can make sure about it. And then he's, Matthew skeptical of the idea that Fortnite is not just a game, but a social experience, like a party around, or
I mean, there are things like that, not the multiplayer on my hook line, I'm a one.
yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, you know, you can see a room where you, go to watch a movie at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that all in Warcraft, but you can certainly do other things.
The point isn't that you can do it another game, the point is that you can also do it in that way, which makes it something that goes the opportunity.
I don't know, I mean, I'm still skeptical.
Okay, I'm gonna go,
Yeah. I think in Elkhart, we're gonna go with you, because we're gonna get lunch. Pick it up. You've got that piece, right? Okay. I couldn't find those in my laptop, all right. I closed it, obviously, so.
I don't wanna get so, something so done.
Yeah. That's it, my time. Well,
Welcome back.
Hi.
I'm vaccinated, don't worry.
That's great, but let's follow protocol.
So Judge Chin and the jury coming in about the same time you have people coming in. I was just wondering which one's going to be the more priority, the jurors or your judge? You don't know, you don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer.
You're supposed to say, YGR is more important than
What I want to say is, this is all real stupid and this shouldn't be happening right now. Anyway, I never said that.
Oh, Your Honor, I was just wondering who's got the priority tomorrow morning if we get backed up. You want your people, I hear, they have to be here at 8 in your courtroom, right?
In terms of the jurors?
No, well, the jurors are coming in anywhere between 7:30 and.
I'm gonna tell them the jurors are dead, and make sure to get to the courthouse early.
Okay.
You open up at 7, right?
Correct.
They can sit in the conference room.
Okay. All right, but he's in tomorrow, you know that, right? That's Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Answers the question.
There you go.
All right, thank you. See you, nice seeing you back.
Thanks. Hey, did you get your break? Oh, okay, yeah, they're in there. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I know. It's a little weird, but. If you need anything else, Francis, let me know. Yeah.
Bench ready and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Post it, continue to. I always put my foot up when I listen, but my thing's gone. Because I mean, like all these little things, think about.
Right.
He has just such a bad accent. It's full of mumbles.
Is it an accent?
It's not, it's just in mumbles. No.
Like a surfer dude accent or something? Ready Player One? I never saw that movie, no.
The gamer guy who put the whole universe together, that's who we don't like.
Oh.
If you see that, it's a cute movie, I like it.
Oh, yeah?
If you ever see it, that's the movie I'm on.
I see.
take a second? No, I am. Can we convene a law clerk discussion of overnight?
If we could, yeah.
I said like 5.
Okay.
I was gonna ask
it's probably best if it's something that needs to be posted in a quick manner. Yeah.
But if it's not, then.
I mean, I don't know, we could ask her, she's always like staying up way too late trying to post stuff, so. I would like to close that door just so people don't sneak up on me if I have the headphones on to block out the work that's going on outside. And because I did have like a CSO walk in on me and I didn't realize he was there until he was right here. Well, I just want to let you know, I can close it, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to close it, so it's unlocked.
Okay.
You got that? Just a test, just a test, just a test. Let's do one.
So I'm gonna have to get with Wilmar and he's gonna have to.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna.
There's sound. It takes a second to come up, so. I'm testing on the defense table right now, just so everybody checks knows I'm testing on the defense. Everything.
Now let's discuss a research system designed.
Okay. All right. I'm going to switch back because plaintiff will need it over there. I'm going to switch over plaintiff. Okay, mics are on. The mics are on the tables. Mics are on. We'll probably hear conversations at the table. Okay.
You can go ahead and sit up there. Watch when she comes back into the court. Be over here, and then when she comes back in, I'll get you on the stand. Unless, Ms. Jones, you put the witnesses on the stand before the judge comes back in?
Yeah, it's fine to go up. That's fine. Thank you for asking me. So, Mr. Doran, I turned on that front mic in case you wanted, though you've been great about standing up if you needed to say, it's up to you. Standing is good, but I did turn on that. Yeah, just go ahead and tap it. I've got it on to be sure I've got the right one turned on. Yeah, just to let you know, but okay. And then I do the same on the plaintiff's table, turn on the one mode. But just to let you know, all the sound now at the table will be carried over the hot mic. Okay, the judge is going to come right out at 1:15. That's 2 minutes. 2 minute warning.
And do you have water up there? I mean, I'm just, you know what? I just want you to know we unplugged one thing up front and had to keep hearing the people, so that's why. So, yeah. Right, either way, yeah, yeah. All right, remain seated, court is in session, come to order. All right, we are back on the record. Record will reflect that the parties are present. Mr. Sweeney is on the stand. You may proceed. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Sweeney, does Epic make any apps for smartphones?
Yes.
What is a smartphone?
A smartphone is, to me, it's a portable supercomputer. It has the capabilities of a cell phone. It has a high-resolution screen, touch input, and internet connectivity that is connected to a cellular network.
Are you familiar with the term feature phone?
Yes.
What is a feature phone?
feature phone is something like a cell phone that can manipulate a device for making phone calls and sending and receiving text messages, but generally that's the ability to run sophisticated apps.
And does Epic make any apps for feature phones?
No.
Why not?
Feature phones don't have nearly the performance or features required to run a modern app or entertainment experience like Fortnite.
All right. Let's talk about the word native app. Are you familiar with that phrase?
Yes.
What is a native app?
A native app is a program that is able to run directly on the hardware of the device and has full access to the CPU, the device's processor and graphics capabilities at the extent the operating system exposes them, and it runs at full performance on the device.
And you've used the phrase operating system. What's an operating system?
An operating system is a piece of software that runs at the highest level of security on the device and maintains the isolation of applications running on the device and supports them. The operating system ensures that apps don't access, they're not allowed to access, and prevents apps from interfering with each other.
And can you name some types of operating systems?
There are computer operating systems like Apple's macOS and Microsoft Windows, and there are smartphone operating systems like iOS and Android and others.
And does Nintendo for the Switch have an operating system?
Yes.
And does it have a particular name?
Generally, the console platforms use proprietary operating systems or variations of an open source operating system that aren't given a brand name for themselves.
So is that true also for Xbox? Does Xbox have an operating system?
Yes.
And it doesn't have a particular name?
I think it has various things it's referred to as internally, but it isn't marketed as a brand.
Is Fortnite available as a native app?
Yes.
On what platforms is Fortnite available as a native app?
Currently, Windows, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Android.
And
Android.
And prior to August 2020, was Fortnite available as a native app on any other platform in addition to the ones you just mentioned?
Yes, it was also available on iOS and macOS.
Why does Epic make Fortnite available on so many platforms?
Fortnite is a social experience. The key to its success and longevity is the ability for players to connect with all of their friends. And so that requires supporting all of, not only the device that you might own as a gamer, but all of the devices your friends might own in order to connect to them.
Let's talk about the iOS platform. What are the ways to distribute a native app on the iOS platform?
The iOS App Store is the general way of distributing apps to consumers. However, Apple makes a number of other mechanisms available for limited purpose distribution, for example, to enterprise employees or to testers working on a software development environment.
In your experience, is the enterprise way of distributing an iOS app open to consumers for native app distribution?
No, Apple forbids its Apple Enterprise Program mechanisms of software installation on iOS from being used for consumer app distribution.
You also mentioned a test environment. Is that test environment available for consumers for native iOS app distribution?
It's not available for general distribution of apps to consumers, although if a particular consumer were participating in a small-scale test, you might be able to access a given app that way.
Are you familiar with the term side loading?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Sideloading refers to the ability to install software onto a device from a source other than the platform's official store.
Does iOS allow sideloading generally for consumers?
iOS does not allow sideloading.
Does the Mac OS environment allow for sideloading?
Yes.
Let's talk about something called a web app. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
What's a web app?
A web app is an application written to run within a web browser using the web browser's limited technologies for display, such as HTML, and its limited abilities for programming, such as JavaScript. A web app will generally run within a web browser on different platforms.
So how is a web app different from a native app?
A web app is limited to the set of APIs available within a web browser, which are considerably more limited and less powerful than the capabilities available to native apps. And we also have memory limitations and other constraints applied to them within this web browser environment.
Is Fortnite available as a web app?
No.
Why not?
Web apps are not nearly powerful enough to run a modern 3D real-time experience such as Fortnite.
Have you heard of the phrase video game streaming?
Yes.
What does that phrase mean?
Game streaming refers to an emerging usage scenario where a user will attempt to play a game on a device while the software for the game is actually running on a server hosted somewhere else in the cloud. And instead of the software running natively on the user's device, the user's device essentially sends input over to the cloud server. The cloud server runs the app and then streams video at the user's device so the user can see what the app is doing on the cloud server and be able to interact with this cloud-hosted app in real time.
So in the streaming scenario, the app is running off of a server, and in the native environment, it's running off of the operating system directly?
Yes.
And do you have any understanding as to whether or not the user experience for Fortnite differs at all when an app for Fortnite is being streamed versus run natively?
Yes.
Could you describe that to the court, please?
In the case of web streaming, the experience is very highly dependent on the quality of the user's internet connection. Because rather than seeing your actions reflected immediately on screen,